What's up, everybody? Scott Bunn here with another episode of Putting You in Your Place. It's episode 15 today. Our regular scheduled show with Derek Nowen is going to be pushed to next week. He had something come up and had to be at work, so we're going to kind of shoot from the hip. And I'm kind of a shoot from the hip kind of guy. So we've got some things. Weston's going to take us through some questions. We're going to talk kind of about my journey as a how I got to become who I am in the real estate world and what I've gone through and some of the challenges that I've faced coming up. And I think it's really interesting. I like talking about it. So I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching. And here we go.
There you go. That's too much. Alright, we'll do what we can.
All right, we're making live on air adjustments to our cameras. Forgive us. What's going on, man?
Nothing much.
So I'm the situation we're in here today. We've kind of had to make a adjustment on the fly. I'm interested to see how this goes and like what we can talk about and where we go with this conversation. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, I just made like a list of like questions that I had and I think other people would want to hear.
Sure.
So let's get started. So I wanted to start at like the very beginning, 13 years ago, almost 14 years ago. What got you started into real estate? Like, what was that process like? What were you doing before that? Who got you into real estate? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I'd always had real estate on my mind. I was in the golf business prior to being in the real estate business, and I've had the luxury in my life of like doing the things that I've wanted to do. I never really, if I decided to jump into something and it wasn't going to be for me, I got out quick. Like I never was stuck on a job that I wasn't passionate about or like hungry to do. So when the golf thing kind of was winding down, and the reason why it was winding down is I kind of got to the top of the totem pole here locally with the guy I was working underneath, which is now a past client of mine. Shout out to Steve Prater. So Steve and I ran our course, right, as things happen in life like that. And I went down to Florida and got a job in the golf business down there and was going to start trying to climb the ladder there. But then I realized that I really love this area, that I really love the people I grew up with, and that I wanted to be close to my family. So what was going to allow me to have great opportunity and great income potential and use the talents that I had? So initially I just thought real estate. And, I was seeing people down at Blacksburg Country Club that was in real estate doing very, very well for themselves. So like I always had that in the back of my mind. And I just knew that was going to be my plan B if golf didn't work out. So golf didn't work out. And that's okay. That's actually the biggest blessing of my life. And I cherish those relationships that I developed. But for me to be in that business, like trying to do what I wanted to do, it just wasn't going to be as great of an opportunity. Because I was never going to earn the amount of money to provide for my family or to create maybe some generational type wealth, which is what I wanted. So like me getting out of that business was a blessing. And finding my way into this business, man, like thank God that worked out the way that it did. And now I'm here, so that's kind of my origin story.
Yeah.
Is from the age of 16 to the age of 26, I was grinding out 80 hours a week at the golf course. And now I'm grinding out 120 hours a week in real estate,
So, kind of like backtrack on that. Why'd you pick Florida? Why not like I don't know, like California?
Well,
maybe?
Florida was where I was connected.
Okay.
So my pro, Steve, he was connected. His journey led him to Florida. Florida is actually the mecca of the golf world.
Okay.
So so that was where the better weather was. The grass was still growing. The operations was actually more in like Florida golf happens in the winter.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that makes
so
sense.
people migrate so they can continue to live that lifestyle in the winter, and then they migrate back up north. You know, so typically people in those large luxury communities are only there for 5 months out of the year, and then they're back to wherever their primary residences are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a few friends up in New York that would do that. They would
Right.
go down to Florida for the winter.
Yeah.
So like if let's throw like a hypothetical in there.
Yeah.
So like if you were to stay in Florida and you got out of the golf business but stayed there, how do you think your business would have scaled differently there? Because the real estate market there is much different than it is here.
It is, but I don't know anybody there.
Okay.
You know, I was not connected there. None of my family was there. I got homesick. You know,
Yeah.
like, you know, the guys that I lived with, we didn't like really connect. You know, and I got
okay.
down there, I was lonely. You know, I was struggling. You know, like I wanted to come home. You know, I broke protocol and like flew home for Christmas. They didn't want me to do that. I did it anyway. Like I got a great appreciation for where I came from by leaving.
Yeah.
You know, but when I was leaving, I was super pumped because I thought the grass was greener, right? I was that guy that always wanted to get away. I was getting out of this small podunk town, and
Yeah.
I was gonna achieve great things. Right?
Yeah, I know. I hear it all the time. Like when going to Blacksburg High School, everyone's like, "Oh, I got to get out of here. I got to go do something else." And I was like, "I've lived at other places." I was like, you know, it's a little greater, but it ain't that great.
Right.
So I mean, because I think it's like some wonderland
Right,
out there, but it's
right.
it's all right.
And when you get out there in the world and you can get the appreciation for it, like you're either gonna go and you're verifying, you're actually going, and if you hit a community that thinks like you, embraces you, like you have a chance. If you have some way of not becoming lonely in those situations, then you have a chance to survive in that. But if you go off and you don't connect with that area, there's not like-minded people, you're gonna really come to appreciate what you had back at home.
Yeah.
And that's what drove me back here. But at the same time, I had to look at things to be like, where am I going to have an opportunity that my income potential is not limited, you know?
Right.
And that's how I found my way into this.
Gotcha.
You know, even though like at 22 years old, I bought my first house. So like I always had real estate as a contingency plan, you know? Especially with the examples of the people down at the country club that was like, dude, this thing's not the end game. Like you being here is probably not going to lead to the life you think it is. So I was being coached properly while I was even in that environment.
Yeah.
That the stresses of managing and running a golf course, it's not very lucrative. So
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So when you came from Florida back to here, did you jump immediately into real estate, or did you kind of like do golf for a little bit until you got into it?
I left my job in Port St. Lucie, or actually it was in Stuart, Florida. It was at Sailfish Golf Club in Stuart, Florida. I came back. I drew 6 months worth of unemployment. I dove into the real estate exam. By the time my unemployment was up, I was up and running.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you pick back up with like someone that you were working or like that you knew from the the golf club? My bad. Did you pick up with one of those people,
No,
or did you
I
just
didn't.
kind of?
I just went solo.
Oh,
I was
okay.
influenced by some of the people that I had met. I came to the same company that they worked for.
Okay.
I was just an individual agent. I wasn't, you know, I felt like I was not a down the line employee, right? I felt like I was a number one.
Okay.
That I needed to be the leader of the situation because I had had a decade of being a down the line employee and it wasn't working out great. Like me as a subordinate underneath the leader, I mean, even as great of a leader as Steve was, they was always coming to me and complaining about something that I was doing, you know? And I was trying my hardest. I was trying to do what they asked me to do. And it just wasn't working out because of the dynamics between the chain of command. So in between me and him, there was like 2 different other people or 3 different other people and then a general manager on top of him. So there was all kinds of dynamics. And me as a kid, you know, they just saw me as a kid. So like, you know, they were always giving me a hard time.
Yeah.
So I was done with getting a hard time from somebody above me. I was just going to go be the boss. So
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I can totally relate to that. 'Cause
Yeah.
That's how it was at my last job.
yeah.
Okay, we kind of already touched on it, but like, so what are all like the benefits that someone would want to be a real estate agent? You said there's no cap on your income. There's a little bit of freedom that comes with it. Like, what else is there? Like, why would someone drop everything that they're doing right now and then go and be a real estate agent, regardless of what the market looks like?
So, you know, you get into this thinking that there's big paychecks involved and freedom. Like you just said, like you get into this because you think that you have the ability and you believe in yourself enough to want to take a risk and invest in yourself. You know, that's why I got in it, is I felt strong enough about my ability. I believed in myself enough to think that, well, they are doing it, so why isn't it possible for me to do the same thing?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, is there like a key factor that you would say that like someone's like, this is going on in their life, and they're like, oh, I would be really good in real estate because of this. Like,
Yeah.
what are some of those things that someone should look for?
Well, I just think you have to really know yourself. You have to know your risk tolerance, you know, because it's a risky business. In this business, you will risk everything. You'll risk every relationship. You'll risk your fundamental beliefs to be in this business. It will affect every relationship in your life. You know, when you go without and you're not bringing money in, and if anybody has to float you to remain solvent, like that's a big deal. Are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to humble yourself enough that if time gets tough, are you going to remain in this business or are you going to go find something else to do? I've risked it all. I've sacrificed it all. You know, in tough times, I've had to go and see who's available for floating me by, you know. So like 2009, 2010, you know, I needed help. You know, I needed help, and I survived because of the support group around me. Even though they weren't happy about it, they gave me the benefit of the doubt to let me have that assistance when I was needed to keep moving forward. You know, because I was still young in the business, and we were in the middle of the crisis at that point here in the New River Valley. Like the sales had shrunk in 2009, 2010. Like it was tough. It was tougher then.
Yeah.
You know?
Is there like, would there be a certain thing that someone could do to like minimize risk? I know like you have to put up a lot of risk to maximize your reward, but like,
Okay.
is there a way to minimize that and still keep the same reward? Like,
Well,
what would you minimize?
No, well,
risk-wise?
here's the thing: is if you're now that I'm 13 years in, if I had it over to do again, and I didn't want to, like, my end game would still be who I was, but mitigate the risk. See, anytime you mitigate the risk, the reward is going to be lesser. Okay, so if you need instant income and you need work to do that's going to generate revenue for you and your family, then you need to join a team.
Oh, okay.
You need to let someone else that has a proven model drive business to you, support you in your business, and then, you know, at some point you're going to have to determine if you can do more and better without that team, or if that team is something that's so valuable to you that you would never leave and be loyal to the thing that got you in the business. You know, so like, so I have a that pulls me in two different directions. Because if I started and I came underneath someone that was supplying me tons of leads and helping me generate income and provided me the security that I needed for the income that I was able to generate for myself, it would be hard for me, if I believed in that, and that's what got me there, to leave that, you know? So that's what we want to provide for folks that want that. Like, that's what we're trying to build here.
Yeah.
But me being me, knowing that I wanted all the upside on the risk, I wanted to take that risk. You know, I was oblivious to the situations, to the environment around me. Look, who in their right mind would have gotten into real estate in 2008?
That's
Nobody.
true. I don't think anyone would. Yeah.
So like, there was a lot more people going out than there was coming in, and I was either naive or just oblivious to the environment. And that's like that Forrest, the Forrest Gump in the hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
Like they didn't know
Yeah.
the hurricane was coming, but they were the only ship that survived.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like that's what I hope to be, is like just a little bit too naive to understand what's actually coming my way. And then when it hits me, just be strong enough to get through it. That's what I'm hoping to be.
I gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. So, what was like a key point where you were like, I'm doing so well, I'm gonna go make my own branch, like the Scott Bunn division.
Yeah.
What was that like? What did you see going on in your life where you were like, I can do this and I'll be okay?
Yeah. Well, the Scott Bunn division originated because I didn't like the team, like the Scott Bunn team, the Scott Bunn group. I didn't like any of those. Those felt weak to me, and I've got a complex about my name, over the years, just growing up with the last name Bunn. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
so I've gained confidence in who I am and the name that I carry, and I'm proud of it. But at the same time, I had a complex about it, so I wanted something strong to go with something that may have been looked at as a not normal standard last name. So I wanted something strong, and when I was looking at it, the Scott Bunn division felt like it was a strong name, and I'm happy to be underneath the Remax 8 umbrella, but I wanted my flag in the ground, and this is what I feel like it is me showing the community that I'm here, and that I am me, and I've got my own thing here underneath the Remax 8 brand. So that was like how I felt about it. And I couldn't use, I wanted to go the Scott Bunn, I wanted to use the word associates, Scott Bunn and Associates, because that would have allowed me to bring people in and like put them into their own brand. But the word associates was actually against the rules.
Oh,
Like
okay.
I can't be and associates. That's like, there's some rule to that like the perception of that is that we're our own thing. And when you get into like realtor stuff, it can be confusing. But that was the reason why I didn't go the Scott Bunn and Associates, because that would have been better for my brand to be able to bring other agents in and give them their own thing, because they're just an associate of mine. But I had to pick a name that wasn't confusing to the public, so this is what I chose.
I gotcha. What's the process like that? Who do you go to be like, can I use this word? Can you just go to Amy or?
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, she had a part in my name. Like she said, like she was giving me the rules and showing me the things. So like you realtors out there, just know that if you're John Smith and Associates in the state of Virginia, you may have some liability with that name. So just be on the lookout for that.
Huh? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So there wasn't like a point where you were like, I'm making so much money here, I can go and open, because like you got to get your own space and everything.
Yeah.
Right?
So
like how many homes were you selling? Like right around that time.
before I started the Scott Bunn division, it was like 45 deals that year, and I had 50 grand in the bank, and I was like, I'm using that to completely grow. Like I'm not gonna just hoard that money and get defensive with that money.
Yeah.
I'm putting it down, and I'm doubling down, tripling down on this, and seeing what kind of impact I can really make for this community. So this used to be like a loan office. Like they used to like have loan officers here that do mortgages. So this space opened up, and I was driving down South Main Street here one day and seen the sign gone, and I like doubled back quick and contacted the number that was on the sign, and it was like, I need to see this place. So I was well off financially and willing to risk it all, and so we took the space that day.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So like, what was the pivotal point where you went from like, what'd you say, like 45, 50 homes?
Yeah.
To like 70 homes. What changed? Was it the space? Was like what?
I just think it was consistency. I think it was ramping up our direct mail, ramping up, the people that we partnered with. Tom Ferry's organization, Curator. Like I took all that revenue that I had in the bank, and I partnered up with great companies to help me with growth, to help me with accountability. Tom Ferry, I get a weekly call from my coach, Mary Francis, and, it's a weekly accountability. She, over 4 years, 3 or 4 years now, has just slightly been helping me move the bar forward and forward and forward. Like, we never had a recession in the Scott Bunn division. It's never been a year that we've went back on production. So I'm happy and proud of that, and I think it has a combination between Tom Ferry's organization and Curator. Like knowing and being around Jimmy and Chris of Curator have been, amazing, eye-opening moments. So yeah.
Gotcha. So like from what I've seen so far in this talk is like there's been like 2 phases, I would say, or maybe 3. There was like you getting into real estate, you doing better in real estate, so where you get to about 45 homes per year, and then now you're doing about like 70 homes per year.
Yeah, last year we did 78 deals.
78.
We're at 66 with 3 months to go, so we really have a chance to take it over 80. Reasonably, like if we just killed it, if we just like we just popped them off every other day, we might be able to get to 85. But
So that's like 3 phases.
Yeah.
What's the next like big? I mean, it's kind of hard to answer what the future holds.
Yeah.
But what to you is like the next big phase where you go from 70 homes to maybe 140 homes?
Yeah.
Like what does that look like?
Well, consistency with what we're doing here. I've got a great admin team now, getting that conveyor belt lined up and everybody just moving through that conveyor belt and the clients being happy. When you light up the scoreboard like we do, it's just going to continue to roll. Like if people are happy at the end of the transaction, they're going to give us more referrals. They're going to give us more reviews online. It's just going to snowball into, we're going to get to the point where we can't do no more. Like we've got to bring on other people, to leverage our time to get to more business. So with this current staff, I mean, legitimately with what we've got here in the office, we should be able to get to 35 million in sales volume in the next 24 months. Like legitimately.
So 35 million, break that down into like how many houses you think that would be. Like,
Okay.
So it'd be kind of rough, but.
So at 2, let's just do the math here.
Okay.
Let's bring out the calculator. So, we've always had the kind of 200 in mind, like 200 transactions. But if we did 150 transactions at, 200 and let's just say 210,000. That's my average. That's my average unit right now. That's 31,500,000. So like we need to get more units at our current average price. But what we're doing is we're targeting higher volume areas now too. We go after expireds, we go after for sale by owners. We have a great past client source, and we have our sphere of influence. But now we need to start farming areas. Now we need to start like dedicating our marketing energy to the golf courses, to the higher volume areas to get more sales price volume. So if we just did what we normally did and we didn't do any farming, I think we could get pretty close. But farming areas is probably what's going to be getting us over the top.
So farming areas in the sense of like you're looking in those areas to get clients that have higher priced homes?
Yeah, so like it was just since we've talked about Blacksburg Country Club here.
Sure.
We can just, there's 200 plus homes probably in Blacksburg Country Club estates.
Wow,
if we blanket, maybe it might be less than that. But anyway,
yeah.
Like if we blanketed marketing material every other month to that subdivision, and then we had a presence to go and like mix it up with them at the country club, that would be a strategy that would just it would get us business eventually. Refrigerator magnet, direct mail, some swag, whatever. It would get phone calls eventually.
What if you got like custom golf balls with your name on it?
Exactly.
You gave
Something
them
like
out to
that.
them. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I gotcha. So you've been in the business for 13, almost 14 years.
Yeah.
If you were to go and talk to someone who's like a younger real estate agent today, what kind of advice would you give them? Like, what would you say, like, these are your first steps, this is what you need to do?
Well, you know,
Or I guess what would you have done differently?
what would I have done differently? I would have worked extremely hard at the beginning, and once I got success, doubled down on how hard I was working. So when I came out of the gate, you know, I didn't write a deal for the first 6 months, but after that, I was on fire. And this was like in the middle of everybody saying real estate's tanking. So my first calendar year in the business was actually really good. I sold about 3 million my first full calendar year, which is really good for a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, I kind of got cocky. You know, I kind of got like, you know, hey, I got this covered. Like, this is going to be easy. And 09 and 10, you know, some of my attention diverted to something that was a little bit fun. And like, I wasn't working as hard in the real estate thing because I just thought I had it handled, you know. And I missed the opportunity because I was 27 years old. I could have been working really hard to establish, and just like at this point could have been much further along than I am even right now if I would have worked harder. So like, and then there's some things that really give you notoriety being under 30 years old in this business, because that's a rare thing that someone under 30 years old is actually a salesperson in the real estate business. So if you could take advantage of all the things, like, you know, 30 under 30, if you're under 30 years old and you can develop a good business, you should submit your application for the 30 under 30, you know, and that just blows your awareness up. And like when the National Association of Realtors is pushing you and helping you brand, the amount of referrals that'll come your way no matter what markets that you're in, you know, the subscriber count on your YouTube channel, the followers on Instagram, like your whole social media, you'll become more relevant. You know, so becoming more relevant on the national scale or the national stage would be something that I would do different. Is I would be more aware of those accolades and those opportunities to get your name out there and be more recognizable. That's what I would do.
So like the sooner you start, the easier it's going to be, like once you're like maybe in your 30s.
Right. So if I would have done the right things, I would have been established at 32 years old, and I wouldn't have had to wait until I was 36 years old to be actually an established name, where when you think real estate in the New River Valley, I'm likely to be in the front of your mind when it comes to that, just because of the blanket social media that we have and as many signs as we have in this community. You know, the little signs that we have in front of the homes, it's undeniable our presence. Like people, if you're not seeing the signs that we put up, just aren't really paying attention. You know?
So do you think like 30 years old is like a mark that you look at where it gets a little harder to get bigger after that? Or is that like...
No, I think if you could get into this business at 45 years old, if you have the right strategies and understanding of how this works. If you're a true salesperson, you can come into this business and really do well if you are a good salesperson. If you lack sales skill, you know, this is a sales job. You might have the name realtor, but bottom line, you're a salesperson. So if you don't understand strategies and tactics around sales, you are going to struggle. If you don't have somebody or a great understanding about advertising or marketing, you're going to struggle. If you don't understand that you need to develop your personal brand for this business, then you're going to struggle, you know? And, you know, you may be old school and you might not do any of that stuff, but if you're doing old school tactics right now, you're vulnerable. I don't care if you're the number one agent in your market, you're vulnerable. Your number one spot's you're in jeopardy of losing that number one spot if you're not doing these things.
So do you think it'd be more beneficial for a agent to start maybe like in like their early 20s, so that way they can work out all the kinks?
If you're a salesperson, this is a very lucrative thing currently. You know, like this is something that will you will be able to create a nice life in this business if you understand sales. And if you can do it, the younger you can start, the better it's going to be. The younger you can start, and that's with everything. I mean, that's with everything.
Yeah.
So sports, like anything that you do, and you start sooner than later, you're going to be way better at it long term. So
That makes sense. So like going back to like I guess those key attributes of like what you see in yourself, where you're like I could be really good at real estate. So you would need to be like really good at sales, then
Yeah.
and like okay. So how does someone get better at sales?
Well,
How do you practice that before you go into real estate, or do
you-
you just jump in and then like figure it out as you go and try to become?
You
Okay.
train. There's in anything there's training. So there's books to be read. There's audio to be heard. There's conferences to kind of go to. There's a whole probably $1 billion industry around sales training. So like that's a big business. So
Who would you recommend them going to listen to first to like get better at sales?
Well,
for this?
who influenced me first was Grant Cardone. And, I've mixed him in with like Gary Vee. And, there's a lot of people out there that you can learn from sales-wise. But those are two that just pop out, right off the top of the head. So, Sell or Be Sold, helped mold me to the salesperson I am. I read that. I got that on audio, about the time I came to Remax. There's some smaller influencers in sales. Like me prospecting to expired listings. I was motivated from a guy named Colton Lindsay off of like going after and strategies around expired listings. So there's tons, like pretty much what I did in 2009, 2010 was like, what am I doing? Why am I not all the way in on real estate? And now it's time to start sharpening my sales skill. Okay. So what I did is I went to YouTube. I said, how to sell real estate, strategies around selling homes. And it just started popping up people. That's really how I found Tom Ferry too. Because I would watch one video and he's doing such great SEO on his videos that he would start being popped up as recommended. So like I was shot over to Tom through, Colton and like a couple other people that I found, but Tom's message resonated to me and his marketing strategy got me.
Wow.
So,
okay.
yeah.
So this was like back in what, like 2009 when you found him on YouTube?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So that's like pretty interesting because YouTube has been around, I want to say for like, to be like conservative on it, like 14 years?
Well, yeah.
Like
so
a little longer than that?
06
Okay.
is when they launched.
Yeah. Wow. So he was like almost a pioneer for like sales knowledge on YouTube.
Yeah.
So personally for me, listening to someone about sales, I like to listen to Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
I watched a video of him once where he was like sitting down with some paid actors and they were told under no circumstances are you allowed to accept the deal. And so I was like watching the video and then he closed the deal at the end. And by the end of it, I was like, what just happened? Because I was convinced that I should do the deal. So it was very interesting listening. I like listening to him talk about sales and stuff, even though his background is super shady.
Yeah.
Now he's like a super straight arrow. He's got like a podcast and stuff.
Yeah.
Selling, basically banking off of that movie.
I mean, the movie, yeah, of course. He's gonna use Leonardo's face to sell programs and courses and things like that, which is great. He's got good knowledge. But, he was a very nefarious character for a long time.
Yeah.
But I love that movie. I idolize that movie. Matthew McConaughey's role in the movie, beating his chest, and everything. Like it was like there's moments in that movie that are very inspiring for salespeople. Like rallying the troops. Like every time he'd get out there and like get on the mic. I definitely enjoyed that movie. And those movies, there's all kinds of sales movies out there too. So. So yeah, I mean, I've just dove into all the sales media out there available and let the good stuff wash in and just discard the stuff that wasn't for me.
Gotcha.
Pretty much.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So far, 14 years, what has been the greatest challenge of your real estate career? Not like before that, but like, so you're already in it. What was the greatest challenge going from one thing to the next?
Probably dodging everybody complaining about me. In the New River Valley here, I've been one of the most complained about and I've been the like people pay attention to what I'm doing. You know, they're interested for some reason about what I got going on. You know, there's been agents. I mean, some of the stories that I have are just like unbelievable. Like you would not believe it. You know, I wish I could get into it, but I can't get it. You know,
could you do it without giving out a name?
well, I could, but you know, I've done that before, and I've been the attempt was to cancel me because of it. You know, so you know, I tried to stand up for racism one time, and that wasn't favorable with the leadership of the association. You know, and I might be given flack for even saying that, but that's what happened. You know, like I made a 2-minute clip about the start of a story of a client, and it did not go over well. You know, and we're trying to be in the forefront, in the horizon of this type of thing. You know, we're trying to expand our brand, and we're trying to show other people in the area, you know, that they need to be out here doing the same things we are. You know, there's plenty of business for everybody, but you know, so pretty much the gist of it is that people, I've got a target on my back. You know, I've had to walk on eggshells, and you know, everything that I've been doing has been scrutinized to the max, and that's a great reason why I wanted to be on the board. You know, me being on the board has given me a ton of education.
Wait, just so I'm clear, the board of what?
The board of directors. So the New River Valley Association of Realtors. I'm a board member of that. So I'm actually a part of making the policies and enforcing the rules and debating on what we need to do to enhance the experience for the members. Okay, so what that's been able to give me over 4 or 5 years of being on a committee and then now being on the board is a far greater understanding of what it is. And since I'm such a topic of conversation, then I can get in there, and when they start talking about me, I'm not offended. I just want to move the conversation along. You know, I want to be a part of the change that needs to take place, because I don't want to break the rules. You know, I don't want to break the rules. I don't want to necessarily be somebody that's complained about. You know, I just want to play within the rules and do as much as I can for my family. You know, and provide lives for people. You know, like bringing you guys on and having the staff that I have. Like, I want to make sure y'all eat. I want to make sure that I can help people in major ways. So, you know, I'm not trying to break the rules, or I'm not trying to do anything that's below board. I'm just trying to find my voice. I'm trying to impact the community in a great way, and people have a problem with that. I don't know why they would, but they do.
Yeah, I'm not like a psychiatrist, but like, why? Like, what? Is there anything specific that you do where they're just like, I don't like the way that you do that, or? I
mean, they might not like the way I enter information in the MLS. They might. I mean, as you get big, right? You getting big real fast. You find problems real fast. So we've gotten big real quick. And there's been times along the way that maybe something didn't get done in a fashion that they can appreciate, right? So we've gotten big, and now as we get big, we try to perfect things on our conveyor belt, and the speed of which we're able to make change, we're doing the best we can with that.
Yeah.
So.
Do you think it's like a spite thing? They're just like spiteful. They just don't like how big you got, and they're like, "Why didn't that happen to me?" Yeah. Kind of deal.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
There's some jealousy and envy in the situation. You know, when somebody's been grinding and they don't understand why they've only got 12 or 15 transactions and I'm sitting here with 65, then there's like, instead of being motivated in a positive way, they reflect on like, oh well. You know, he's a Remax agent. You know, like that's a big company agent. You know, or they don't give me credit for the hard work I put in to actually be who I am. You know, they want to discount that as I'm lucky. You know, and that the reason why I've got that is because I got so many people working for me. So how did I get so many people working for me? It's like the chicken before the egg,
Right.
right?
So I guess sort of kind of, so they're doing like 12 to 15, and then let's say like one year you were doing like 30 to 50.
Yeah.
Right. What did you do differently that they weren't doing? Were they just like sitting around not doing anything? Were you like prospecting a certain way to get your leads? Like what were you doing differently to have before you had like a team? What were you doing differently?
I've been consistent on Facebook for more than a decade. I've been putting out nothing but positive things, maybe up until lately, where I'm defending,
Yeah.
we're getting to a political season, and I'm fed up, I'm fed up. I'm done not talking.
Yeah,
But,
I think everyone from every side is.
Yeah.
They're tired.
yeah.
But
So yeah, for decade, I've been out there putting out positivity, and I sprinkle that in with sales. I sprinkle that in with results. I am quick to. I'm proud of what I've done. And people can look at some of my posts and they can be like, "That's kind of like braggy," and that's kind of like. I've always been that way. I've always been like, I'm willing to take credit for what I did.
Well, there's two sides to that coin. It's like, look at what I've done, so that way a client's like, oh, he knows what he's doing. But then you have the people that aren't doing that for themselves, and they're like, oh, that's brag. So I mean, it's both sides. I mean,
people need social proof.
Yeah.
People need to know that you've done it. And so when you do it, you make sure that they're aware of it, so they trust you. So I'm willing to come up with the heat and the criticism. I think they was even complaining that I had I buy thousands of pens throughout the year. A couple thousand pens a year typically, and they have my face on them. And I go. This is strategy for everybody. Use it. I got these pens. I take them to the restaurants, and I'm their pen supplier. And anytime they sign for their receipt, if they pay for the credit card, you get a Scott Bunn pen. And that's just a branding tactic. But there was some realtors that went to the board and complained that I had pens in restaurants.
Can they like really do
No,
anything
they
about
can't.
that? I mean,
No.
that's what I'm thinking.
That's the level of complaining that comes my way.
So basically, and I could kind of say what I want because I'm not a realtor. So it seems to me like from like a marketing, because I see it in marketing all the time. People complaining about other people marketing a certain way.
Yeah.
It seems to me like they're just mad that they didn't have that idea, so then they go and complain. It's like if you had a sibling and you do something good, and then your sibling doesn't like it, and then they go and complain to the parents, and they're just like, well, we can't do anything about it. It wasn't bad. You're just mad that he did it.
Right.
So, that's just what I see. That's so. I mean, I'm not gonna say it, but
it's stupid.
It's stupid.
So, like for somebody to take my idea and want to discount it or complain about it because they didn't think of it, because it's a great strategy.
Yeah.
And I encourage them. I have not reinvented the wheel. I've taken advice. I've seen examples. I've taken what I like from it. I've made it mine, and I've discounted the rest. I'm not.
They should be like countering that strategy with something else. Like, here's an example. I'm sure people do this already, but like, go to all the tax offices in Blacksburg and be like, look, I'll provide you with folders for tax information, because whenever you do your taxes, you get a little folder back with all your information in it.
Yeah.
You just provide them the folder. It has their name on it, and it also has your name on it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that some people do that, but like I'm sure not all the tax offices have people supplying folders for them.
Right.
So I mean, that's and people.
Hey, look, there's moments that my pens run out. Anybody could do the pen strategy.
Yeah.
They need pens. I mean, and there's 1,000 restaurants within this community. So, if I'm taking handfuls to certain places, I might not be taking handfuls to other places.
Yeah.
So
you don't have all the time in the world to hand out pins.
Exactly.
So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It seems really dumb.
Yeah.
So so let's say an agent is doing pretty well for themselves. They have they're selling like 30 to 40 homes a year, and they want to go and start their own branch or underneath their broker. what steps do they need to take to do that?
Well, it depends on, like for Remax, I had to buy a Remax franchise.
Okay.
I had to, get approval for that, and I had to pay a fee for that. And I don't have any ownership of it because it's under, I gave it to my broker. I just was willing to pay the cost to get what I wanted. So typically the agents are just going to work out of the main office or they're going to work out of home. But for me, I wanted to cement my flag in this community, and I wanted a presence here that they could drive by every day. So that was my motivation. Does this industry require store frontage? No,
Not really.
it doesn't. Could I do the amount of work that I'm doing without it? I don't think so. To be able to hire people, to have them a space, I've gotten this so I could expand, so I could provide for people, not for me to walk around here and like give orders or anything like that. I wanted space for people, and me. I could do this in front of my, my alt workstation at home. I might not get as many units done, and the profit might be larger, but I'm not affecting the community the way that I want to. I'm playing way long. I'm not short on what I'm doing. I am way long, like 55, 60 years. And then maybe transferring it to somebody, that comes into my life, or a kid that I have, or something like that. Like, this is going to feed somebody for a really long time, hopefully.
So what is there like a certain amount of space that you think someone needs, like a certain square footage to do something with, like, so basically what I'm seeing is like times are changing. A lot of people are starting to work from home.
Yeah.
A lot of what we do here could be done from home, but having a space is nice.
Yeah.
Because we get to collaborate with each other, and
Yeah.
it's not super hard to get a hold of people.
Yeah.
But how much space do you think someone needs?
I mean, we've got about probably 2,000 square feet with the new addition, but without it, we only had 1,200 square feet, and I think this is plenty. If we had,
but like just starting out, like.
just starting out, man, just set up a home office, or work out of the office.
But no, they wanted to start their own like franchise, like what you did, and they
Yeah.
want to bring on people, like.
Yeah, I mean, you need a room.
Space
You need a dedicated room or something. Like, I just started this in my house. This started in my living room at my townhouse that I sold last year. I hired my cousin. He came up and started like putting processes in place and started helping me with direct mail. And then he decided that wasn't really for him. So then I hired another girl through a temp agency. She actually worked with me up until about 8 months into this office, and then she took off. And it definitely takes time, but this started out of a living room at my house. It wasn't like, okay, I have somewhere different to go than my house, and that's where we started. This literally started in my house.
What do you think's the best way to like scale that if you were to break off? Like what? So I mean, I guess what I'm saying is like social media. Like, do you go and like network in person? What's the best way to scale that business?
As far as
once you break off?
far as getting to higher volume, as far as getting to higher volume, it's just an overtime thing. It's for me, I can say that I built most of my business off of expireds. Like in the time that I really started, I started just being obsessive over getting the listings that didn't sell. And then once you get a listing that didn't sell and then you actually perform for them, they're yours for a long time. They'll put your name out there that, hey, he took over where this agent didn't get it done and he got it done. That's the best word of mouth ever. So from expireds, the network expanded, the word of mouth expanded, and I leveraged the expired into way more business. So today though, it's a rare, if you want to build your business on expires today, you're starving. So it's just a, in the moment, in the time, you have to know what the emerging market is and who needs to be served, So right now we're trying to be the first in line. not the second, because the first, like you putting that house out there, it's likely going to sell, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So you just gotta know where in the cycle the clients that need to be served are, you know.
Okay. Well, that's like pretty much all that I had. You know, I tried to get as many questions in there as I could.
Yeah.
For
I thought there was some pretty good
how
moments
last
there.
minute it was.
It's disappointing when a guest. It's disappointing when a guest has to deviate from like what we set up and plan. So, man, I think you did great. I think the questions were good. I think that puts perspective out there. Honestly, I just want to keep the cameras rolling and just talk to you guys about the evolution of our show.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've debated in our meeting
Mm-hmm.
that we want to keep real estate in the forefront and be a real estate podcast. But I want to talk while the camera's rolling to get feedback from the audience. Like, do you guys want to hear us talk about other things other than real estate? Could we benefit you guys and put our perspective on any topic that they're interested in? I know you're a proponent of like, hey man, let's stay on topic, let's stay on brand. But I think it's important. I really think it's important that, we don't get way in the weeds on anything other than real estate, but we need to talk about what's going on in the world a little bit. What do you think? I mean, what do you really think?
Well, I mean, it's like if I went on YouTube and I was looking for a real estate podcast, I'd prefer that they talk about real estate.
Yeah.
That's just me though. If I
Right.
went to go listen to a car podcast, them talk about cars, I'd rather them talk about cars. I'm looking at Joe Rogan as an example, Mm-hmm.
and he's all over the map. I know we're no Joe Rogan,
Well,
but
So Joe Rogan's a comedian.
Okay,
so he
that might be.
he can kind of hit everything he wants.
so just check mark me comedian. What is a
Well,
comedian? You get a license to get comedian? You don't have a license to be a comedian. You can just say you're a comedian.
I would consider a comedian that would be good in the public eye would be someone that's been doing it for like 20 years that has like their own shows. Like they're getting scheduled out to be. I mean, you can be funny, right? But like, I would consider a comedian someone who kind of can.
So
establish.
Derek has comedian aspirations, and we're trying to set him up as a thought leader in the community,
Mm-hmm.
along with us, and use our platform to put his perspective out there as well. And the show's definitely going to deviate when that happens. When those guests come in, like we want to be real estate business oriented and focused. Maybe we save that for when we have guests if they want to talk about that stuff. I'm with that. But if there's something in the news cycle that's a hot topic that garnishes attention, we can take advantage of that, I think. I think, maybe we try to put perspective on how that's going to affect housing or how that's going to do things to impact this community. But I do think that we're a relevant source of opinion on hot topics.
Mm. Well, I mean, so I'll give you an example. There was a person in the car photography community that was a car photographer, a really good car photographer, and then he switched up his brand, and then he started shooting like street photography and all this other stuff, and it killed it. He lost his engagement because people were like, "I thought you were a car photographer." There were some people that stuck around.
Right.
Those people were like his friends and family, and then like other people.
That's happening to Gary Vee. I mean, Gary Vee even posts about people saying, "Hey, this garage sale stuff isn't it," and they unsubscribe.
Mm.
Gary doesn't care.
Well,
like
Gary-
the content's free.
Gary Vee also has millions of followers, so if he deviates from something like that, it's not going to really hurt him.
So all right, so let's talk about that comment there.
Mm.
Do we play to the end game or do we play at the game we're at today? So do we act how we want to act because that's what we want to do? Do we want to produce the content we want to produce? And the fans and the followers, like if y'all want to stay involved. But we want to do things that we want to do, or do we want to just stay on topic and stay on brand so we continue to pander to what we think the audience wants? Real question. I mean, do we play the game we want to play at the end, or do we want to play the game that we're in today? Like, do we want to plan for the championship, or do we want to plan for this win right now?
Well, building a brand when you're small is a lot different than building a brand when you're big. Building a brand when you're small, you have to stay in like your niche because you're trying to grab followers. Like I would almost say there's different milestones whenever you're growing a brand. When you start, you should stick to one thing, and we're still in that starting phase. I mean, 146 subscribers, glad they're all here, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot. Right, so like there's almost certain tiers to it. Like once you hit a certain milestone, we'll just throw 30,000 out as a, well, I mean 30,000 is an arbitrary number. You know, It might not be true, but it's like because you get the 30,000 subscribers, and then you would look to see, all right, what does my engagement look like? How many people are actually watching these videos?
And what do they actually want me to talk about?
Right. So once you get to that point, and you have people that are there because of you and what you're talking about, then you can start experimenting with stuff like, okay, I want to talk about this. Because really you're at the mercy of whatever someone wants to listen to. You know, when you're in the public eye, that's pretty much how it is. Right? And then, I mean, it's so weird. It depends on like, do you want to build up a brand and it be successful and it stay in one niche? Or do you want to build up something that kind of just hits everything that might not bring in as much like revenue?
So I want to use an example, right?
Sure.
I want to use Meet Kevin as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Meet Kevin started off, with his real estate experience, and he started off with kind of a name hacking strategy, exposing, I exposed Grant Cardone, I exposed blah, 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 John Smith. So he name hacked with real estate content in between about, noob versus pro and, flipping a house and investing in a house. And now he's all the way over to like political stuff, and he's over to financial stuff. Mm-hmm. He's pretty much taking Graham Stephan's content and making it his own. Like he's talking about the credit card stuff. He's taken all the financial stuff that he's learned from Graham and influenced by Graham, and he's talking about the hot topic of the day in his perspective.
I think Graham has something to do with it. I'm not going to say that he is a sole unit that pushed him to do that.
Right.
I think
he's heavily influenced. They're buddies.
Yeah.
They're buddies.
Well, I think what Meet Kevin's difference is that he's pretty qualified to talk about that kind of stuff. He owns his own brokerage. He flips homes by himself. I mean, he has a lot of knowledge in those fields.
Yeah.
He's talking about ages, and the reason being like that he has that knowledge, Graham has that knowledge, so they're buddies because of it. But they mostly look into real estate. They do real estate.
But
here's the thing with
ahead.
Meet Kevin. Meet Kevin, up until when the pandemic happened, had about like 250,000 subscribers, and then he shifted his stuff to talk more about what's happening in the economy and what's like going on with stimulus. And then he's at like almost 900,000. So what is that like? That's like, math, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it's around like 600,000 to 700,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
He can't shift back to real estate. If he shifts back to real estate,
he has though. He's got some videos in there.
Have you seen the video views though? When he switches back, they're much less than they would have been had he stuck with that all the way through.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if he would have stuck with real estate, he would have saw that 700,000 much later, but like he would be doing the stuff that he was doing at the beginning, and it's still what he wants to do.
Right.
Right, but then he shifted his whole. I'm not saying what he did was bad. He's doing what he wants.
Well, honestly, he's probably chasing the revenue because he shows what he's making, and he wants that to go up. He's pandering to the audience that he's got. No problem with that. No problem with that. And I'm just saying, like, do we evolve in the same type of way where we find some attention somewhere and like really start going in on that, or do we just say, okay, this is what that's how big brands go out of business, is they don't evolve into the thing that they should evolve into. Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, what I'm saying is to do it now doesn't make sense because we haven't even basically started.
Gotcha.
I wouldn't consider us being like, okay, this is something until we hit like 10,000 subscribers. Once you hit around 10 to 20,000 subscribers, that's when I kind of look at it and be like, okay, we have something here. Because I have friends that have like 7,000 subscribers on YouTube, you know, around those ballparks, but they're all under 10.
Yeah.
And they don't post consistently, and their views aren't all there all the time. And it's like, so I'm like, you have followers, but it's not really something yet.
Yeah.
You
What do
know
you think?
I mean?
What do you got anything to say on that, Sky?
No, I'm not mic'd up.
Okay. Well, either way, you know, if it's muffled, whatever. You know, this is a moment. We're giving you a behind the scenes moment. This is a strategy session with my team. As we're debating this, we're giving you an inside look on this. So, I mean, give me what your feedback is on the topic that we're talking about. Like, do you agree with him? Do you see my point? Like, you know, do we play for the end, or do we just try to like slither off a couple wins here on our journey until we get to a point where we can reevaluate?
I think Weston's right in the sense that, like, if you... Here, I'm going to take my headphones off.
Yeah.
If you start watching a TV show and you're really invested in it, and 3 episodes in, the next episode has nothing to do with what the previous 3 episodes were, and you realize that going forward that might be the case, then you'll leave and find a different show.
Yeah.
Like, what you liked was what was there at the beginning.
Right.
And so what we're trying to build is like a community who's interested in the content that we're making. And if the content we're making is always different, when people come back and they find that it's different, they'll be like, oh, well, this isn't what I came here for. And they'll leave.
That's kind of one of those things that I was trying to establish with you guys, like when I joined, because when I looked at the YouTube channel when I got here versus what it is now, if you just take the few videos, minus the micro content, you just take the podcast that we're doing,
Yeah.
they're all pretty consistent. But before I got here, there were things like we're walking around Blacksburg, this is a house tour, this is a product review, this is that, this is this. And I was kind of like, I don't really know what this channel is. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Should we eliminate that content?
I mean, it's already there.
So, I mean, so there's one thing that I want to talk about, like, after the podcast, but I can talk about it
Let's
now.
talk about it now.
Yeah,
We're giving them, you know, this
Sure.
is what happens in a media company at its inception. Nobody gets to see this. Nobody gets to see this.
So I was reading YouTube's, like, terms of, like, I was looking, a monetization thing popped up in the YouTube studio. I hadn't seen it before.
Yeah.
So I guess they did an update where you can see it. So I was looking at it, and it showed our progress of, like, what we need to do to get monetized on YouTube. And like I said before, monetization on YouTube shouldn't be a primary source of income off of a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't shoot yourself in the foot and discount it. You know what I mean? So I was looking at it, and it was like, you need to hit 1,000 subscribers, and then you need to have like 4,000 hours of watch views.
Within 12 months, right?
Within 12 months, yeah. And we're at like 406. So we're not quite there yet. We still have like 3,000 plus more to go.
Yeah.
But I was looking at it, and they're going to eventually send someone in when we hit that point that reviews the channel to see if it gets monetized. It's a real person. It's not a bot. It's a real person that goes in and looks at it. And the only thing that I'm kind of seeing is like, so the 2 top videos on our channel have a lot of negative feedback. There's a lot of dislikes. There's a lot of negative comments on it. And if they go in and see like, okay, because that's what they said. They're going to look at the top producing videos of our channel. If they go in and see like that they're both negative, you know, there's ones below it that are positive, but the top 2 are negative, they might revoke monetization on the channel.
So what if those videos were outside the 12-month window? Because we're working within a 12-month window, and those videos are all 2018.
See, I'm not really sure.
So, but here's the thing: is anything that's not on brand for us, we might just eliminate. It's not going to count against us anyway. They're all old.
Mm-hmm.
So, like getting rid of videos, especially like random aerials. We can get rid of those random aerials.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like on our Instagram page, if we didn't have some people, the strategy around Instagram, if they post and it doesn't hit hard initially, they delete it. You know, so like deleting content that's not getting watched and having a theme and like an overall consistent look might be the way. You know?
Yeah.
And maybe we can just archive some of the other content and maybe pull it up again one day. I mean, even the Thread Beast, I mean, Sky, you did great work on that. It just didn't get any views. I mean, you know, it's not that relevant.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, it happens. I mean, like you could make a video that you think is just like the absolute best video, and it just doesn't do well.
Yeah.
That's not anyone's fault.
Yeah.
You know, it's
But
it's YouTube's
look,
fault.
our
but-
subscriber count when we put that out versus the views, I'm happy because we didn't have 100 subscribers at that point, and it got more views than we have subscribers. So in that percentage, that's okay.
It did good.
You
Yeah.
know.
So, I mean, yeah, it all depends. And I was running the numbers on our channel too to see what engagement is like. And for the industry standard, I don't remember what the percentages are, but for the amount of subscribers we have to the views that we have for the videos that we've started making since I got here, is good. Like we're above what it should be.
Yeah.
For how many people are subscribed versus how many views. And that's just based on like a small channel. That is going to change dramatically when you get bigger. But yeah, I mean, we're doing good in that aspect. Instagram's doing well. The only ones that aren't doing well are Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. But I mean, those are things that I plan on fixing later. Probably like next year is when I'll start diving.
What do you think what's contributing to that?
Inactivity. Before I got here, just those platforms were super inactive. Pretty much the only active platforms that I saw that were consistent were pretty much just Facebook. Instagram was a little bit, but LinkedIn, Twitter, and then YouTube was just super inactive, which is why they didn't have a lot of views. And when you're super inactive on a social media platform, it really hurts you because their algorithm recognizes that. And they're like, oh, this person's been gone for a while. Let's knock it back.
Right.
So like we'll take my Instagram, for example. I haven't posted a picture in a long time because of the whole pandemic. Because a lot of my photos are me going to car shows because that's the kind of stuff I like taking pictures of.
Yeah.
But on my Instagram story, I post like every day just to make sure I keep that activity up.
Right.
And eventually I was reading that Instagram's going to shift away from posts and they're going to focus more on stories. I don't know if that's true. I don't know how
as far
true
as
that is.
algorithm goes?
So algorithm right now, key things that are hitting on Instagram are your stories. If you send, basically likes and comments are irrelevant now. They still matter, but they don't matter as much as sending a post. If someone sends a post to a story, it hits harder. And if someone bookmarks a post, that hits the hardest. Yeah. So when people bookmark it, people are like, oh, they're coming back to look at that content. So Instagram just boop, and they bump it up.
Interesting.
So that, and then Instagram Reels and IGTV hit hard because they're both new. IGTV not as much, but Instagram Reels hits hard right now. So
we're 7 people away on Instagram from 900 followers. Good job.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
No, I mean, I've been trying to hit it pretty hard.
You're definitely hitting
So
it. Hey, anybody that's watching, replay, whatever, go follow us on Instagram. We're putting out good stuff over there. We need some engagement over there. Find us on TikTok too. I'm trying to post on TikTok, so we need help. We need help. We're asking our community to step up and help us with the following counts and subscribers and things like that. So if you're within the sound of my voice, please subscribe to YouTube and follow on Instagram and TikTok. We really appreciate that. So, all right, we'll just wrap this up. You got an inside look today at like what our typical debate is and our meeting structure is. Sky wasn't mic'd up or on camera, but this right here is the start of something that I felt like can be really special. Not only, expanding my real estate brand and having me become the knowledge broker of this community when it comes to what I specialize in, but also like what we're thinking behind the scenes on what we want this show to actually be. We want to call on the community that wants to take advantage of the platform we're building to get whatever it is that you have that we can help with, business strategy, anything that we can help with. We want you to come in and talk with us and see if we can help you do the things that you want to do or get out whatever it is you're trying to get out so the community knows about it. That's what we want this to be, along with like the real estate and the business stuff. So that's our casting call. Like we want you guys to come in and talk with us. And, any questions, any comments, we appreciate that. And I guess we'll wrap it up. Episode 15.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty good. Pretty good. Good stuff.
I loved it.